Hello again, and welcome to Paris Set Me Free photo tutorials, and we're back in the summer of 2008 as we're awaiting, as I'm making this video, we're awaiting the summer of 2009. You could say it's here, we've had some hot days, and the phenomenon which is Paris plage. After a photo tour that I'd done around about the Palais Royal area, one of my photo tours, I was at a loose end, had my camera in my hand, was pretty keyed up as ever after a tour for taking more photographs, and wandered around a bit, came to the banks of the Seine, looked over one of the walls, and lo and behold, this scene hits me. And this isn't the photograph I'm going to show you, but you can see the sort of thing that Paris plage is about. They either put sand down or they just leave the grass, and people sit and sunbathe in bikinis and shirts off and stuff like that. So here is a few shots that I took of this, some of which I can show you, some of which have to be gone over briefly because they're they possibly show people who well, a little bit too much. There was this guy, I wasn't alone, you see, plenty of other people, photographers taking the opportunity to get some pretty original shots, so it's basically looking for the great shot. And all this is very well, looking down on people's heads and so on, but in the end you have to work hard to make sure that the shot is actually as artistic as you want it to be, or as artistic as, you know, thinking ahead, what shots are going to be remembered and what are just snaps. This shot, for example, is far too busy, as we say. There's so much going on. I mean, there's a bunch of feet all over the place, which is fair enough, but there's also these bags with bright orange bags attracting the eye, going off the edge of the frame with bits of bottles sticking out. There's some old bit of clothing here, rumpled jeans. There's a bit too much going on. Now, if you compare that to the next shot, I think this is probably a stronger shot because there's far less going on. This one is probably better again. You've got this bit of shadow here, and in the one I just showed you, you've got more of it. But what's different? Well, you might not realize it, but in this case, both of his feet, the toes are sticking up, and in this one, he's wiggling his toe there, which gives it a kind of unpleasant tension or lack of symmetry, whereas this one is better. Now, I was going on with this theme, think I'd found something quite good. You see he's still playing with his toes there. Come on, man. I've changed the angle, so I've got this angle going across the shot, and I've also got these people coming along, or going along, or whatever, or crossing. This woman's going this way, this person's going this way, and you've got these long shadows. Now, this was starting to look promising, so I thought I'd hang around for a bit, see what I could do. There you can see, changing the angle a bit. Well, actually no, I just turned the camera around. There's a guy picking up litter. You can see he's got his thing for picking it up, and there's the shadow of it, which is quite nice. And that's more of him. In the end, I went for this one, and here's the final result. Quite a difference, obviously, after I've played around with it, between that and that. You might think there's too much of a difference, but that's a personal point of view. I like this one because you've got the feet coming in from the edge here, and you've got two other feet. Also, these feet are splaying out this way, and these feet are splaying out this way, and they almost match up, if you see there. You've got some lovely long shadows. The sun must have been pretty low. You've got an invisible person who can only be seen by their shadow, but what a marvellous sort of spooky alien long type of shadow that is. It reminds me of something from one of those films like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where the aliens come out of the spaceship and you've just got their spooky shadows with the hands. Look how marvellous and long those hands are. It's great. And look what's happened to his foot. His foot is relatively slim, but look what's happened to the shadow there. It's enormous. The shadow is far bigger than his foot. It's really great. So that kind of frames off the top of the picture. You've got an angle as well. You've also got this angle here, and you've got these 2 feet poking in from this side and to echo these 2 feet here. So all in all, and I've richened up the colours a bit, and there's a little leaf here and so on. So it's become quite a fun shot actually. Talking about a moment in time, people having fun, lots of interest with the shadows and so on. I'm not quite sure what this is. It's maybe a pole. It doesn't look like a person. And it just speaks of a moment in time. It's quite a pure shot. There's not much going on. My only regret is this bunch of clothes here, but I'm not going to play around getting rid of that because it would probably look worse than if I don't touch it. So you can see I've gone for purity as opposed to busyness in the shot that I showed you before with all sorts of things happening. I think this is a much better shot. So to sum up, what can I say to sum up? Look for simplicity, and once again look for echoes. The 2 feet and the 2 feet, splayed out, splayed out. Shadows are marvellous elements if you can work them into your photograph. Look for diagonals. This nice diagonal line here chops this bottom third off from this top 2/3 more or less. And you've got these strong lines going this way with the strong lines going in the other direction. These lines perhaps echoed by the lines of the guy's legs or just of his body. His body goes this way, and so do these lines. Completely by chance that I discovered this. Just keeping my eyes open and not just accepting the first thing. Trying to work. You saw how many shots I took in order to finally arrive at this one, and that wasn't even all of them. I eliminated most of them just to end up with a smaller choice from which to make the final choice. And that's what you've got to do. Don't forget to get rid of all the rubbish, otherwise your hard disk will be taken up by all these failed shots in your desperate attempt to get the right one. And then you finish up with something which really does remind you of the moment in a stronger way than just a bunch of snaps. That's what you've got to aim at. Something which really takes you back and almost over-romanticizes it. That's my opinion, because often reality is a bit grim and not as fun as what you can make it. But in your memory, it was more like this, even if the reality was more like this, a bit grayer. In fact, it wasn't this grey. That's just what the camera offered as a first attempt. But I think one of our jobs is to, as photographers, is to take it back more to what we experienced at the time, the heat of the moment. Literally, it was hot, people were sunbathing and enjoying themselves, and you've got to move them more towards what you remember as opposed to what the camera recorded, which sometimes doesn't match up to your memories. Hotfooting it in Paris, 2008, waiting for people to be doing the same thing in 2009 and getting some more great shots. That's it for this time. Thanks for visiting. See the high quality version on parissetmefree.blogspot.com or the site parissetmefree.com. And
depuis que je suis à Paris, le jour et la nuit, je suis gris. J'ai compris la douceur de vivre. Je suis fou de joie, je suis ivre. Depuis que je suis à Paris.